first sign is never the animal itself. It's the silence. A sudden stillness that settles over a forest, a farm, or a lonely stretch of outback. Birds stop singing, insects vanish. And then, from somewhere deep within the trees, comes the unmistakable sound of roots tearing, branches snapping, and soil erupting as if something beneath the ground is waking up hungry. Moments later, they appear. Powerful, relentless, fearless, born boars. Across 3 continents, from the American South to the Australian outback and the deep forests of Europe, millions of these animals are waging a silent, devastating war on landscapes and the people who depend on them. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Now let's begin. It doesn't matter whether you're standing on a farm in Texas, in the eucalyptus forests of Queensland, or among the vineyards of southern France. Farmers across the world describe the same experience, the shock of discovering a field transformed overnight into something resembling a battlefield. Soil churned as if a plow went wild, fences torn from their posts, water troughs overturned, entire rows of crops chewed down to the roots. And at the center of it all is the same animal, an ancient survivor capable of thriving almost anywhere it steps foot. The wild boar is now considered one of the world's most destructive invasive species, and its rise is not limited to one country or one ecosystem. It is a problem so large, so widespread, that it has quietly become one of the greatest environmental threats of our time. To understand how we reached this point, we must first understand the boar itself, the creature that has outsmarted hunters, survived bullets, conquered continents, and turned entire nations into unwilling battlegrounds. Some animals adapt, others dominate. Wild boars firmly belong in the second category. They have walked the earth for millions of years, evolving into a kind of biological perfection that few species can rival. With thick armor-like skin, powerful muscles, razor-sharp tusks, and a surprising intelligence even seasoned hunters underestimate, boars were built by nature to survive almost anything. But their greatest weapon isn't strength or speed or toughness, it's reproduction. A single female can produce between 5 and 10 piglets at a time, often twice a year. Under ideal conditions, one sow can indirectly create hundreds of descendants in just a few years. This is why, once established, they are nearly impossible to eliminate. What makes the story even more remarkable and concerning is that humans themselves are responsible for scattering this species around the globe. Centuries ago, explorers carried pigs and boars aboard ships as a reliable food source. They were released on islands and coastlines, so future voyages would always find something to eat. No one then could have imagined that these animals would one day multiply into the millions, reshaping entire landscapes and forcing governments to fight a war that never seems to end. In the United States, the wild boar problem has grown so massive that it's difficult to fully comprehend. 39 states now have established populations. Their total number is estimated at more than 8.3 million, and it increases every year. The destruction they cause is staggering. Farmers in Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Louisiana, and Florida describe nights where herds of boars move across their land like living bulldozers. Cornfields shredded overnight, newly planted seeds dug up before they sprout. Water pipelines, fences, feeders, and irrigation systems torn apart as if made of paper. It's not just food they destroy, it's livelihoods. By sunrise, a farmer may discover tens of thousands of dollars in damage. Multiply that across millions of acres, and the financial impact becomes clear. The United States loses an estimated $2.5 billion per year to wild boar damage. But perhaps the most frightening threat is invisible. Boars carry dozens of diseases capable of infecting livestock, pets, and even humans. Veterinarians warn that if a disease like foot and mouth ever spreads through America's wild boar population, the shock waves across the pork and cattle industries would be catastrophic. Boars move easily across highways, rivers, and suburbs. They're not confined to rural farmland. They are pushing closer to towns, cities, and high-traffic areas, creating a growing number of dangerous encounters. It's a battle farmers cannot win alone. But the problem extends far beyond the United States. Australia's landscape is vast, rugged, and unforgiving, and yet wild boars thrive here as if the continent was built for them. Today, boars occupy roughly 45% of all Australia, an area so enormous that controlling them has become nearly impossible. Their numbers explode after rainfall, turning the outback into a breeding paradise where food is abundant and predators are rare. In Queensland's sugarcane fields, farmers wake to crops destroyed just before harvest. In the wetlands of New South Wales, boars rip through fragile ecosystems. In the Northern Territory, they raid waterholes, killing native animals that depend on those shrinking resources. Damage to agriculture alone is estimated at $16 million annually, but the true cost, ecological collapse, water contamination, and disease risk is far higher. And looming over all of Australia is a terrifying possibility. If foot and mouth disease, one of the most contagious livestock diseases on Earth, ever enters the wild boar population, the economic impact could reach 50 billion over 10 years. Entire industries could fall. Exports could collapse. Livestock movement could grind to a halt. For Australia, the fight against wild boars is not just an agricultural issue. It is a matter of national security. Across Europe, wild boars were once scarce and even hunted close to extinction in some areas. But today, they are making an extraordinary comeback, appearing in numbers unimaginable just decades ago. Replanted forests created ideal habitats. Warmer winters reduced piglet mortality, and the decline of natural predators, especially wolves, removed one of the last forces controlling boar populations. In France alone, the population has surged beyond 1 million. Germany records tens of thousands of boar-related traffic accidents annually. Italy struggles with destroyed vineyards and orchards. Even Western Russia is overrun with boars. But the most surreal phenomenon is happening in Europe's cities. Boars wander through suburbs at night, rummaging through trash bins in Rome, roaming parks in Berlin, and even appearing near metro stations in Madrid. Their intelligence makes them bold, and their boldness makes them dangerous. Europe now faces a crisis it never expected. How do you control a wild animal that refuses to stay in the wild? Across the American South, the Australian outback, and Europe's forests, the objective is the same: reduce boar populations before they overwhelm human society. Yet researchers warn that controlling these animals requires eliminating up to 70% of their total population every single year. Anything less means continued growth. This reality has forced farmers, hunters, scientists, and governments to adopt extreme measures, blending ancient hunting traditions with cutting-edge technology. The heart of modern boar control lies in a deceptively simple idea: trapping. But trapping an animal as intelligent as a wild boar is far more complex than it seems. For a trap can be placed, the herd must be located, and wild boars leave behind a trail that is unmistakable. Torn soil, muddy wallows carved into riverbanks, deep hoof prints pressed into damp earth, tunnels carved through brush like miniature highways. Once the path is discovered, the preparation begins. Farmers spread bait, sweet, irresistible, and carefully chosen, to lure the boars to a single familiar feeding site. This stage can last days or weeks because the most important part of trapping is not steel, chains, or gates. It's trust. Boars must believe the area is safe. They must return repeatedly. They must lower their guard. Only then can the trap be set, and today, a new generation of traps is transforming the battle. Modern boar traps are no longer simple cages. They are engineered systems equipped with motion sensors, infrared cameras, and remote-controlled gates. A farmer can lie in bed at midnight and watch a herd gather in real time on a smartphone. Operators wait patiently, not for one boar, but for the entire herd. When the last piglet steps inside, a single tap sends the heavy steel door slamming down, trapping the entire group at once. A well-timed trap can catch 40 to 60 boars in a single night. These traps reduce damage, slow reproduction, and give farmers a chance to fight back. But trapping alone cannot stop a species that reproduces faster than humans can capture it. And so the battle continues in the darkness. Although night hunting is an essential part of the global fight against wild boars, it is only one chapter in a much larger story. Because even with thousands of hunters, hundreds of traps, and thousands of kilometers of fencing, the population continues to grow as if nothing has happened. And as the years pass, the battlefield shifts not only across vast forests and open plains, but steadily closer to where people live, work, and raise their families. In some regions of Texas, farmers say they see the animals more often than their neighbors. In Queensland, families no longer dare to step onto their verandas once the sun goes down. And in the suburbs of Rome, drivers are warned to slow down, not because of deer or foxes, but because of wild boars running through traffic lights at night as if they belong there. The fight is no longer a conflict between farmer and animal. It is a struggle between humans and natural forces that have fallen out of balance. In regions where the terrain is too overgrown, or where fields blend into dense, impenetrable forest, hunters rely on something no technology can replace: the sense of smell, speed, and relentless courage of working dogs. These dogs are not used only for tracking. They become partners in a dangerous dance. When they pick up a trail, they accelerate instantly, zigzagging through bushes, undergrowth, and darkness. Their barking cuts through the night like an alarm bell, a signal that the hunt has begun and that the boars are not far away. As soon as they get close enough to a wild boar, their movements change. They circle around it, trying to slow the animal down and keep it in one place so the hunters can reach it quickly. But that is the moment when things become dangerous, because even a medium-sized boar can seriously injure a dog with a single strike of its tusks. Many hunters say they are reminded every time of what is at stake when their dog stands face to face with such an animal. The adrenaline, the fear, the pride, it all blends together as they run through the darkness, guided by nothing but the panting of their dogs and the echo of barking that grows louder and louder. It is a form of hunting that commands respect, not because of the kill, but because of the intensity of the moment, human and animal, shoulder to shoulder, confronting an enemy stronger, smarter, and harder to break than almost any other wild creature on Earth. In the United States and in parts of Australia, the battle has moved into the sky. From above, the landscape appears peaceful, but anyone who looks closely sees the scars of the night before: deep, churned-up earth, collapsed fences, places where irrigation pipes stick out of the ground like broken bones. This is the scene helicopter pilots and marksmen enter every day. From the air, it becomes clear how many wild boars there really are. They run in groups, scattering instantly when the sound of rotor blades approaches, diving into cornfields, sprinting across open plains as if they fear nothing at all. The sky is their final enemy, and at the same time the most terrifying. For many who take part in helicopter hunts, the experience feels almost unreal. The speed, the roar of the wind, the steady rhythm of the helicopter blending into the sharp clicking of gunfire. Some describe it as feeling like a video game, but the reality is far harsher. Every elimination saves a farmer thousands of dollars. Every coordinated action prevents the birth of dozens of new animals. Every mission that succeeds keeps a small piece of land livable. But each mission also reveals how enormous the problem truly is. Because after hundreds of eliminations in a single day, crews return to base. And by evening, when cameras turn on again, farmers often see the same fields visited by new groups. Hunting from the air helps, but it never reaches the ground. The population grows faster than bullets can fly. When a wild boar is captured, stopped, or shot, A new chapter begins. For although these animals cause immense damage, their meat remains a valuable source of food. But unlike livestock raised on farms, wild boar meat cannot simply be sold anywhere. In the United States, only 15 facilities are fully approved to process wild boar. The animals are thoroughly tested, inspected, and only then processed. Often, only medium-sized animals are accepted. The larger males have a sharper odor and darker meat that is less popular. In Germany, eating wild boar is deeply woven into the culture. Especially around holidays, demand rises sharply, and in some villages, wild game is prepared almost every weekend, often taken directly by local hunters who share their catch with friends and family. France also has high numbers, but there the majority of the meat never reaches stores. It is shared, traded, or given away. Many French people find the meat too strong, too tough, too intense in flavor, and yet hunting remains necessary, not for culinary tradition, but to limit damage. In this way, the role of the hunter shifts from food provider to land protector. They do not hunt because they want to, but because they must. What makes the wild boar crisis so unique is that much of the damage becomes visible only when it is already too late. In Australia, for example, water sources, already scarce, are reduced to mud pits. Many native animals that depend on clean water die as a result, often without anyone noticing. In the United States, boars break through nesting areas of endangered bird species, eat reptile eggs, attack newborn calves, and disrupt habitats of dozens of other animals. Their presence shifts food chains, sometimes in ways understood only years later. In Europe, they spread African swine fever, a virus harmless to humans but deadly to pigs. The impact on farms is devastating. When an outbreak is detected, entire farms must be culled as a precaution. The psychological toll is often as heavy as the financial one. It becomes clear that wild boars are not just pests tearing up fields. They are a force capable of reshaping ecosystems, sometimes permanently. Governments try desperately to intervene, but they constantly fall behind. In the United States, millions of dollars are invested in research and control programs. In Australia, vast remote areas are bombarded with poisons and aerial operations. In Europe, hunting seasons are extended, rules are loosened, and citizens are encouraged to report sightings. And yet nothing seems enough. Politicians clash with conservationists. Hunters clash with animal activists. Farmers clash with bureaucratic laws that respond too slowly to fast-moving problems. The result is a struggle in which no one fully wins, except the boars. Scientists agree on one thing: complete eradication is impossible. The animals are too intelligent, too adaptable, too numerous, and spread across too large an area. But control, slowing, and reducing their numbers, those goals are achievable, provided countries work together and embrace new technologies. Genetic control is being researched, such as fertility programs that prevent females from reproducing. Drones are improving, allowing herds to be found more quickly. Smart traps are becoming more efficient, quieter, and safer. Apps are being developed that allow citizens to report boars in real time. The future of this fight will be a contest between human innovation and natural evolution. And in that race, neither side holds a guaranteed lead. When you see a wild boar, it may look like just an animal, a large, rough, mud-covered creature wandering through the woods. But behind that single animal lies a story unfolding across 3 continents. A story that keeps farmers awake at night, threatens entire ecosystems, and fuels political debates about the future of our food, our nature, and our safety. It is a war that never appears on the evening news, a battle fought in darkness, in mud, across vast fields and deep forests, a battle we can only win by learning, adapting, and continuing to fight. And the most remarkable part? This war began hundreds of years ago with just a handful of animals released by travelers, and no one could have predicted that their descendants would reshape the world so profoundly. Thank you for watching. If you found this story interesting, click subscribe, Leave a comment and share the video so more people can understand how large and important this silent struggle truly is.